My name is Marcello Quintanilha. I was born in 1971 in a city that's called Niterói, which I've never heard of, and I'm a comic author. I'd like to think that I'm an author that deals with the very humane issues. I always work about what happens in Brazil. Everything is completely autobiographic. Everything, absolutely everything. Even if the stories takes place in a very different periods of time, I feel like I'm all of the characters all the time. This is my last book printed in Europe, and it tells the story of a mother that has to make a very hard choice to be able to save her daughter. And it's also a hard-boiled story. None of the colors of the book correspond to the colors in reality, because I wanted to create a kind of metaphor with the disconnection from the reality that exists nowadays worldwide, and in Brazil in particular. Disconnection from reality that I think that comes from the difficulties many people have to filter the good information. Many people tend to close themselves into bubbles that corresponds much more to their own point of view than necessarily with reality. And I wanted to reflect this phenomenon in this story too. I was always very interested in the criminal chronicle. In Brazil, we have a tradition of chronic that used to start from real events, to create narratives around it that could be fictional or could be real. And somehow it's also the way I used to work. In the case of Tungstênio, for instance, all the stories comes from a news that I've heard on the radio. It was a very short announce. Well, you know, and this morning 2 guys were arrested by a cop that was passing while they were fishing with dynamite, which we all know this is forbidden. And I started to think on a story that could make all of these people join together in this kind of events.
Segura. Vocês vão me ouvir. Mete bala, negão, porra!
I was contacted by the director, Dalia, and I said yes. And it's incredible to see how actors work, how they can find elements on their own mythology to give life to characters that were thinked to exist only on paper. And I feel very proud. I feel very proud. I could not say that I have a drawing style in any way, because I do believe that stories determine the way they should be drawn. From album to album, from story to story, the techniques changes all the time, which I think is very interesting from the artistic point of view, because I never feel in control of anything, anytime, anywhere. I never felt like that in my whole life, to be honest. So my work, it's an extension of the lack of control I feel my whole life. I'd like to draw real people. My characters are never ideal. Even if my characters has opinions or points of view that are completely different from mine, I let them suffer the consequences of their own choices, and I never ever judge them, never. Each of my characters express themselves in a very different way, but also in a very realistic way, although all of the things are fictional. I think that's important because deal with reality in a fictional dimension makes everything even more real. You appropriate yourself of the reality to work with it in your own way. I must say that Belgium is like a second country for everybody that's interested in comics. I have a great connection with Franco-Belgian comic. To be surrounded by this atmosphere, the Belgian comic atmosphere, for me it has always been very important, very, very important. One of my great influences has always been Edgar Jacobs, and I'm completely in love by the work of authors like François Coyten, and well, for me it's like to be home again.